Alright friends, we're going to make a sound app and we're going to go to projects, start new project, and give it a name whatever you want to call it. And for this project, all we really need is a canvas that we're going to find in drawing and animation. And you're going to make that fill parent for both height and for width. And then you're going to put a ball on the canvas. So the real point of this app is to learn about how to make decisions based on information. And so the piece of information that we're going to deal with today is understanding that the top of the screen, the bottom of the screen, the left and the right of the screen all are assigned different numbers by MIT App Inventor. And we can use that information to do all sorts of things. Like for example, if it was a Pong app, maybe you touch the top and you lose a point, you touch the bottom, you gain a point, or you touch the left and right and nothing happens. Almost anything you can imagine. So they're the ideas. The other thing we're going to do today is make a different sound depending on which side of the screen the ball hits. And to get sounds, we're going to go to Media, and we're going to drag sound in, and we're going to do that 4 times. For now, we're going to leave the source blank for these, but we'll make our own files and we'll upload them. So before we go to the block screen, you can change whatever you want. You can change the screen background if you want to. Don't change accent color. Keep that as default because it'll break App Inventor for some reason. I don't know why they let you change it. And you can change the background color. If you change the background color, I usually leave this as none. You can change stuff about the ball. So let's go to blocks. The code is going to be when the ball reaches the edge of the screen, we want to make it bounce. And eventually we'll do some other thoughts with that as well. But let's do that first. So we'll go to ball 1. And we're looking for when ball 1 edge reached. We want it to bounce, so we're going to go back to ball 1. And we're looking for call ball 1 dot bounce. And then we're going to point to edge, but don't click on it, just mouse over it and choose get edge. If that's a hard time for you, if you can't do that for whatever reason, you can always go to variables and just get one of these and choose get edge. Let's also make it so that the ball is going to start out stationary and we're going to fling the ball to get it started moving. We'll go back to ball 1 and we'll say when ball 1 flung. And go back to ball 1 again, and we're looking for the dark green set ball 1 speed 2. Mouse over speed, get speed. But it turns out this is a little slow, and I'd like it to go a little faster. So I'm going to multiply this by 10. So I'm going to go to math, scroll up, and I'm going to find blank times blank, and put speed in there. And if you click on the blue part, and then type 0 twice on your keyboard, it should autofill 0 right there. And then you can turn that into 10. I'm just going to right click on this and choose duplicate. And this time I'm going to set speed to be heading. And I'm going to take the math problem out and take get speed and make that be get heading. Nice. This part's done, so I'm going to collapse it and set it aside. Finally, I'm going to play different sounds depending on which side of the screen the ball hits. The top edge of the screen is 1, the bottom edge is -1, the left edge is 3, I think, and the right edge is -3. I might have the 3 and -3 backwards. We could look. Hold on. Okay, so I totally had that backwards. The left edge is -3 and the right edge is +3. Whatever. Alright, so to control, and we're going to choose if then, and we're going to put this under the get call ball 1 dot bounce. So the screen has 4 edges, and when the ball reaches an edge of the screen, we know that it's at n edge, so we have to do 3 different tests to figure out what edge it's at. In other words, we can see, is it at the top? No. Is it at the bottom? No. Is it at the left? No. If it's not on those 3 sides, then we know it's on the right, so we don't actually have to do 4 tests to know what side of the screen it's on. So we're going to go to the blue gear here, and we're going to choose else if twice. And then finally, we're going to choose else. So I have 3 different tests and then 1 final thing with no test. And so now we're going to go to logic, and we're going to choose blank equals blank. And I'm going to put get edge in one of those. And so now we're going to look at these numbers. So is it 1, -1, 3, or -3? And it doesn't really matter which ones we start with. I clicked on the green part. I'm going to type 0 twice and press enter. And I'm going to make this 1 for the top edge. So if it's at the top edge, I'm going to go to sound 1. And I'm going to call sound1.play. Great. Now I'm just going to click on the green part, 2-finger click it on your Chromebook or right click it on a desktop, and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to change this to be -1. I'm also going to duplicate this, same thing, 2-finger mouse click on a Chromebook, right click on a desktop, and I'm going to change this to be sound 2. Keep on duplicating. So that's the top, this is the bottom. I'm choosing these arbitrarily. It doesn't really matter which ones I choose as long as it's any of those 4 numbers. And I'll make this one 3. So it's either at the top, the bottom, or the right now. So if it's not in any of those 3 places, then we know it's on the left. Okay, so that's the whole app, actually, except for the sounds. We just have to create the sounds, and that's really easy. So we're going to make our own sounds, because making our own sounds is a lot better. If you make your own sounds, they're unique, they're yours, they're your own creation, nobody else has them, and that's a whole lot more interesting. And it's actually a lot easier to make your own sounds than it is to go looking for them. So I'm going to try to prove that to you right now. So open up a new tab, search for Twisted Wave. Click on Twisted Wave. And then we're going to find online. So we're not going to choose Mac or iPhone, iPad, but we're going to pick online. So now that we're online, we're going to go ahead and sign in. And we're going to scroll down and we're going to hit the sign in with Google button. This is going to allow us to save our work and be able to find it again. Okay, now that we've signed in, we're going to go ahead and click on the blue New button and choose Empty File. So once we do that, this window pops up and we can start recording. So I'm going to click this red circle record button. I'm going to choose to allow it to use my microphone, and I'm also going to click remember. So now that I've done that, you can see that my voice is being represented on the screen in this waveform, and I can just keep on recording. I can make sounds like, and once I've had enough of the recording, I can just hit spacebar and it'll stop recording. At this time I can click back and I can listen to myself talk, but I'm already doing that, so I'm just going to do this instead. And once Alright, cool. So let's say that that's the sound I really wanted. In order to make this app work really well, the sounds we want or need have to be less than a second long. In fact, about a quarter of a second is pretty ideal. So I'm going to highlight this with my mouse, hit the backspace button or the delete button, and delete it. I'm going to do that for the leading sounds as well. And incidentally, if I really made a mistake and I wish I had those sounds back, I can always hit Control and the letter Z to undo that and get them back. Or if I decide that I really hated those sounds and I want them gone again, I can press Control Y and then delete again. So here's my sounds. Now that could be it. I can be done at this time. It's about a second long, so it's a little on the long side, but not terrible. I can get rid of some of this leading silence and maybe some of this trailing silence. Now I'm firmly under a second, and that's good. I met the criteria. But we can also do things like click on effects and choose things like reverse. See what that sounds like. That's creepy. We can invert the polarity. I don't even know what that does. We can change the pitch and the speed. Alright, so let's assume that we're really happy about that. And by the way, we don't have to do that to the whole sound file. If I wanted to change just part of it, like if I wanted to, say, reverse just this part, I could do that. And it just reverses that one part. At this time, I can go to File, and I can send it to Google Drive, or I can straight download it. If I download it, I need to give it a name. The name should mean something. It shouldn't be a meaningless name. You should give it a name that has something to do with what it is. So if it was clapping, called clapping. If it was stomping, called stomping. Naming it after yourself is kind of meaningless, even though I know it was you that made it and that was really awesome. You're going to make a couple of sounds. In fact, you're going to make 4 of them. So go ahead and make 4 sounds. Make each one of them be less than a second long. So before you go on to this next step, you should have made 4 sounds, and each one of the sounds should be different than the other sounds, and they should each be less than 1 second long. A quarter of a second, 250 milliseconds is fine. No problem at all with that. A couple of seconds is way too long. If you have each sound being a couple of seconds long, they're going to stack and sound really weird and not sound good at all. So 4 sounds, each one less than a second long, preferably about a half a second long. Each one downloaded to your computer, named in a way that makes sense. Make sure that the file type is MP3 or WAV, but MP3 is better. So back to MIT App Inventor, and we're going to go to the blocks view. And so you're going to click on each sound, choose source, and you're going to upload the file from your downloads or from your drive, depending on where you saved it. Alright. Now that you've done that, give your app a try, see how it works, and you made a sound app.